My name is Rebecca Robson, and I'm 27 years old. 4 days ago, I watched my father sign a do not resuscitate order for my grandmother while she lay unconscious in a hospital bed. The doctor said she'd had a massive stroke. Her brain was swelling. She needed emergency surgery, $185,000, with only a 30% chance of survival. My father looked the doctor in the eye and said, "Let her go. She's old. We won't pay for this." My mother nodded, already scrolling through funeral home websites on her phone. I begged them to reconsider. They told me I was being emotional, unrealistic, that I needed to accept the inevitable. What they didn't know was that 3 days later, my grandmother would wake up. And when she did, she whispered something in my ear that would destroy my parents' lives forever. Within 1 week, everything they believed about their inheritance would turn to ash. Only subscribe if you genuinely connect with stories about family betrayal and justice, because this one will haunt you. November 18th, 2025 started like any Tuesday. I was on recess duty at Mountain View Elementary, watching third graders play four square, when my phone buzzed in my pocket. I normally keep it silenced during school hours. The fact that it was ringing at all meant something was wrong. I stepped away from the playground, toward the fence line where the kids wouldn't hear. "Rebecca," my father's voice. Flat, businesslike, the tone he used when closing real estate deals. "Dad? What's wrong?" "Your grandmother's had a stroke. Blue Ridge Regional Medical Center. They're saying it's bad. You should come." My stomach dropped. "Is she—" "They're running tests. Just come, Rebecca." Click. He hung up. I left lesson plans with Mrs. Patterson, grabbed my coat, and drove 40 minutes with my hands shaking on the wheel. I didn't turn on the radio. Just silence and the sound of my own breathing, praying the whole way. Please let her be okay. Please let her be okay. Grandma Kate had raised me more than my own parents ever did. Every summer at her lakefront cabin, every Christmas morning baking cookies in her kitchen, every phone call when I needed advice about life, love, teaching. She was 79 years old, sharp as ever, still walking 2 miles every morning around the lake. A stroke. Massive, my father had said. When I pulled into the hospital parking lot, I saw my parents' BMW already there. They'd beaten me by at least 20 minutes. That should have been my first clue. I found them on the fourth floor, ICU wing. Through the window of a small consultation room, I could see my father sitting across from Dr. Henry Walsh, Grandma's physician for 30 years. My mother sat beside him, perfectly composed, hands folded in her lap. I pushed through the door mid-conversation. "The scans show significant swelling in the left hemisphere," Dr. Walsh was saying. He was 68, gray hair, kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He looked tired. "Emergency surgery to relieve the pressure is her only option at this point." My father leaned forward, elbows on the table. "What's the cost?" Not how is she. Not what are her chances. The cost. Dr. Walsh glanced at me as I sat down, then back to my father. "Roughly $185,000 for the procedure. Insurance typically covers about 60%, so out-of-pocket expense would be approximately $74,000. I watched my father's pen move across his yellow legal pad. He wrote, $74,000. Then, 30%? Then, assisted living equals $6,000 per month. He was doing math. "And the success rate?" my father asked. "At her age, with this level of severity," Dr. Walsh paused, "I'd say 30, maybe 35% chance of meaningful recovery." My mother spoke for the first time. Meaningful meaning what, exactly? Walking, talking, independent living. Those would be unlikely. Assisted living with round-the-clock care would be the best-case scenario. My father made another note. I could see the numbers from where I sat. He was calculating costs, projecting expenses, Like Grandma was a failing business he needed to liquidate. We have to try, I said. My voice sounded small in that sterile room. We have to do the surgery. My father looked at me the way you'd look at a child who'd just suggested something impossibly naive. Rebecca. My father's voice had that edge it got when he was about to explain why I was wrong. We need to be realistic here. Your grandmother is 79 years old. Even in the absolute best-case scenario, which Dr. Walsh just told us is unlikely, she's looking at years of expensive care that she can't afford. That we can't afford. Dad, this is Grandma. This is a medical decision, not an emotional one. He turned back to Dr. Walsh. Doctor, I appreciate your honesty and your years of care for my mother, but we need to face facts. My mother wouldn't want to be kept alive as a vegetable, hooked to machines, no quality of life. We need to let her go with dignity. Dignity. I stood up so fast my chair scraped against the floor. You're talking about giving up on her. My mother reached for my hand. Her palm was dry, cool. Sweetheart, this is hard for all of us, but sometimes the most loving thing we can do is let someone go. Your grandmother had a good, long life. 79 years. She wouldn't want us to bankrupt ourselves trying to keep her alive in a hospital bed. I looked at Dr. Walsh. What do you think she'd want? He met my eyes for a long moment. I think Catherine Brennan is one of the strongest people I've ever known. I think she'd fight if she could. My father's jaw tightened. She can't fight. That's the point. The decision falls to us now. He pulled a form from his briefcase, apparently he'd brought it with him, and slid it across the table. I've researched this. A do not resuscitate order. If her heart stops, if she stops breathing, we let nature take its course. No heroic measures, just comfort care. Dr. Walsh picked up the DNR form slowly, reading it, giving them time to reconsider. You understand what this means, he said quietly. If Catherine codes, if her heart stops, if she has another stroke, we will not attempt resuscitation. We will not intubate. We will provide comfort care only, and we will let her pass. I understand, my father said. Dad, please. My voice broke. Rebecca, you're not thinking clearly. This is the responsible choice for someone who can no longer make it herself. She'd choose to live. I was crying now, not caring who heard. She'd fight. You know she would. My mother squeezed my hand like she was comforting me. You're young, honey. You haven't had to make these kinds of decisions before. It's harder than you think. Your father and I have talked about this. We know what Mom would want. They didn't know. They'd barely visited her in the past year. I'd been there 67 times. I'd counted once during a bout of insomnia, scrolling through my calendar. 67 Sunday dinners, birthday visits, random weeknights when I just wanted to sit on her porch and watch the lake. My parents had visited 7 times total, but they knew what she'd want. My father uncapped his pen, blue ink. He signed his name on the line marked Legal Next of Kin/Healthcare Proxy. His signature was steady, confident, no hesitation. The date, November 18th, 2025. The time, 4:32 p.m. Dr. Walsh filed the form in his folder without a word. When he looked up, his eyes found mine. There was something there, something I couldn't read. Later I'd understand. He was telling me to pay attention, to remember this moment, to watch what happened next. You can see her now, he said quietly. Room 6. The hallway to the ICU was long, sterile, fluorescent lit. That hospital smell, disinfectant and floor wax, and something underneath it all that smelled like fear. Room 6. The door was half open. I walked in alone. My parents said they'd come in a minute. They needed to make some calls. Grandma Kate lay in the bed, small and still. She was always small, 5'2", barely 110 pounds. But in that bed, under those white sheets, she looked like she'd already disappeared. A ventilator tube ran down her throat, forcing her lungs to breathe. IV lines snaked from both arms to bags hanging on poles. Monitors beeped her vitals in steady rhythm. Heart rate 64, oxygen saturation 92%, blood pressure 118/76. On the side table, her reading glasses, the ones with the tortoiseshell frames she'd worn for 20 years, her worn leather Bible with the red ribbon bookmark, a half-finished crossword puzzle dated November 17th, yesterday. She'd been in the middle of living. I pulled the chair close to her bed and took her hand. It was warm. Her pulse was there, faint but steady under my fingers. "Grandma, it's me, Rebecca." My voice cracked. "I'm here. I'm so sorry. I tried to stop them. I don't know why they're like this. I don't understand." The monitors beeped. The ventilator hissed. She didn't move. From the hallway I heard voices. My parents talking in low tones near the nurse's station. I stepped to the doorway to listen. They were 20 feet away, just around the corner. They thought I was still in the room with Grandma. They didn't know I could hear every word. "How long did Dr. Walsh say?" My mother's voice. 24 to 48 hours. Maybe sooner now that the DNR is in place. "We should call the funeral home tomorrow. Baker and Sons did a nice job for my aunt." A pause, the sound of paper rustling. "I'll handle it. You call Samuel Brooks. We need to get the estate process started." "Do you think Rebecca will contest anything?" My father laughed. Actually laughed. "She's 27 years old and makes $43,000 a year teaching third grade. She'll take whatever we give her and be grateful for it." Still, she was always Mom's favorite. "Doesn't matter. I'm the executor. I have the 2019 will. We follow that to the letter and Rebecca gets the cabin and maybe 50 grand. Everything else, the land, the savings, that's ours." My mother's phone screen lit up. I could see it from where I stood. Zillow, a listing for 2,847 Country Club Drive, Asheville. $890,000. 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. Recently viewed, timestamp from this morning. "Once the land sells," my father said, "we can finally breathe. Pay off the debts. Buy the house we should have been living in all along. Mom would want that for us. Would she?" I stepped back into Grandma's room before they could see me, closed the door quietly, sat back down in the chair, still holding her hand. This is who they were. This is who they'd always been. I just never had proof before. My parents left at 6 p.m. "We'll be back in the morning," my mother said, kissing my forehead like I was a child. "Try to get some rest, honey. There's nothing more you can do here." I stayed. The nurses changed shifts at 7. Julie Brennan came on, Grandma's niece, my second cousin, 34 years old with kind eyes and scrubs covered in cartoon cats. She checked Grandma's vitals, adjusted the IV drip, made notes on the chart. "How you holding up?" she asked me. "They gave up on her." Julie nodded slowly. "Yeah, I heard." She was quiet for a moment, checking the monitor readings. "Your grandma's tougher than people think, you know. Not tough enough to survive this." "Maybe, maybe not." Julie gave me a strange look, then left. At 11:38 p.m., my phone buzzed. A text from my mother. "Did you lock up Grandma's cabin? We'll need to secure it soon." I didn't respond. I fell asleep in the bedside chair sometime after midnight, my hand still holding Grandma's. At 11:50 p.m., I woke to a feeling like someone had squeezed my hand. Just barely. A flutter of pressure. I looked up. Grandma's eyes were still closed. The monitors hadn't changed. Heart rate steady at 63 beats per minute. Must have been a dream. But I swear her fingers had moved. I stayed in that room until midnight, holding her hand, while my parents went home to start Googling estate lawyers. What I didn't know, Grandma was listening to every word. What they didn't know, she'd been planning this for months, and in 72 hours, she'd wake up and tell me exactly where to find the proof. I arrived at the hospital at 7 a.m. on November 19th, carrying coffee I couldn't drink and a change of clothes I didn't need. My parents showed up at 10:30, fresh from brunch at the Grove Park Inn. I knew because my mother still had the parking validation ticket sticking out of her purse. My father breezed into the room like he was arriving at a casual business meeting. Any change? No. Where were you? We needed rest, Rebecca. You can't pour from an empty cup. He checked his watch. We have the appraisal guy coming to the cabin at 2. Need to get that process started. She's not dead yet. My mother flinched. Rebecca, don't say it like that. We're being practical. When the time comes, we need to be prepared. She handed me a bakery bag. We brought you a muffin. Like a $5 muffin made up for anything. They stayed 22 minutes. My father spent 15 of them on phone calls outside the room. I could see him through the window, pacing, gesturing with his free hand, doing deals. My mother scrolled through Instagram, double-tapping photos of other people's perfect lives. When they thought Grandma was sleeping, when they thought she couldn't hear, they talked. Did you reach Samuel Brooks? My mother asked quietly. Left a message. He'll call back. We need to schedule a meeting for next week, get ahead of probate. What about the land appraisal? Ordered it this morning, should have the report by Monday. I'm thinking we list it by December 1st if everything goes smoothly. I was standing right there, 6 feet away. They didn't care. She can hear you, I said. They both looked at me. My mother actually laughed, this light, pitying sound. Sweetheart, she's in a coma. The doctors explained this. Her brain isn't processing anything. But I swear I saw Grandma's eyelid flutter. Just once. So quick I might have imagined it. My father left at 11:15 to meet the appraiser. My mother followed at noon, claiming she had a charity board meeting that couldn't be rescheduled. I checked her Facebook later that night. She'd been at a spa, posted a photo of her pedicure with the caption, "Self-Care Sunday, a little late." I stayed. At 2:14 p.m., I stepped out to use the restroom. When I came back, I heard my father's voice in the hallway talking on his phone. I stopped just around the corner, out of sight. Yeah, 58 acres, lakefront, pristine condition, he was saying. No, she won't be a factor much longer. The DNR is signed. I'd say a week, maybe less, then probate starts. A pause. He was listening to whoever was on the other end. I know you've been waiting, Daniel. I appreciate your patience. No wetlands issues. I checked with county planning. Clean title. The estate will list it as executor sale so we can move fast. Another pause. $2.8 million is the appraisal, but I think we can push for 3 if you're motivated. My mother bought it for $87,000 back in 1974. She'll never know what it's worth now. I pulled out my phone and hit record. I didn't know why. Instinct. Just instinct. The timestamp read November 19th, 2025, 2:14 p.m. Talk to your investors, my father continued. I'll call you the day after the funeral. We'll get this done. He hung up, turned, saw me standing there. Just handling some business, he said quickly. Nothing for you to worry about. I didn't tell him I'd recorded it. It was the first secret I'd ever kept from my parents. At 4 p.m., my mother made a phone call. Right there in Grandma's room. She didn't step outside, didn't lower her voice, just sat in the visitor's chair and dialed. Yes, hello, Baker & Sons Funeral Home? I'm calling about pre-arrangements for my mother-in-law, Catherine Brennan, Brennan, 79 years old. Yes, she's currently in hospice care. Hospice care. Grandma was in the ICU, not hospice. My mother was lying to make the funeral planning seem more appropriate. We're expecting within the week, so I'd like to discuss your package options. Do you have availability for a consultation? Tomorrow works? Perfect. 2 p.m. Thank you so much. She hung up and smiled at me. Just being prepared. You'll thank me later when we're not scrambling during a difficult time. On the heart monitor, Grandma's pulse spiked, just for a second, from 62 to 71 beats per minute, then back down. I saw it. My mother didn't. She was already scrolling through casket options on her phone. I took a photo of the monitor spike. Added it to the folder on my phone I'd labeled Evidence. I had 4 items now: the developer call recording, this photo, a screenshot of my mother's country club drive house search, and the visitor log Julie had shown me yesterday. I was documenting everything, and I didn't even know why yet. That night, around 11, Julie came in to check vitals. My parents had left hours ago, 6 p.m. sharp, claiming exhaustion. Your parents leave early again? Julie asked, adjusting Grandma's IV. 6 o'clock. Hmm. She made a note on the chart, then pulled out her phone. You know, in 11 years of nursing, I can always tell which families are here out of love and which are here out of obligation. Which category are mine? Your parents? They're here out of accounting. I laughed bitterly. That obvious? Honey, your dad asked me yesterday how long it usually takes to get a death certificate processed. She showed me her phone screen, a spreadsheet. I keep records. Visitor logs for long-term patients, helps me track family dynamics, know who to call in emergencies. The spreadsheet showed Grandma's name at the top, then 3 columns: visitor name, visit dates, total count. Philip Robson, 4 visits in the past year. Andrea Robson, 3 visits. Rebecca Robson, 67 visits. I started tracking when I noticed the pattern, Julie said quietly. You're here every week, sometimes twice. They show up for Christmas and her birthday, maybe. I stared at the numbers. 67 visits. I'd brought her groceries, fixed her leaky faucet, sat on her porch drinking sweet tea and talking about everything and nothing. My parents had come 7 times. 7. Can you send me that? I asked. Julie texted me the screenshot. Your grandma talked about you all the time, said you were the only one who really saw her. Keep seeing, Rebecca. You're going to need to. She left. I sat there in the dark, phone in my hand, staring at those numbers. 67 versus 7. That was the only math that mattered. November 20th. My parents arrived at noon. My father carried a file folder labeled C. Brennan, Estate, in neat block letters. He sat down across from me like we were having a business meeting. Rebecca, we need to talk practically. When Mom passes, if, when, we need to know where everything is. Do you have a key to the cabin? Why? My mother jumped in. Documents, honey. Her will, insurance policies, deeds. We need to make sure everything is properly secured. You mean you want to search her house while she's dying? My father's voice went cold. We mean being responsible executors of her estate. This is what adults do, Rebecca. He pulled out his legal pad. I could see the list he'd already made. Land, $2.8 million. Cabin, $180,000. Savings, estimated, $400,000. Total, approximately $3.38 million. Then, below it, P&A, $3.25 million. R, $130,000. He'd already divided it up and given me less than 4%. I don't have the cabin key with me, I lied. My father's jaw tightened. We can get a locksmith if necessary. I'm trying to include you in this process, Rebecca. Don't make it difficult. It was the first direct threat. The line was drawn. I said nothing, just added a photo of his asset list to my evidence folder when he left the notepad on the table. My mother tried a softer approach. We're not trying to cut you out, sweetheart. We just want what's fair. You'll get the cabin, you love that place, and enough money to be comfortable. But the land, that's a family asset. It needs to be managed properly. By managed properly, she meant sold to the highest bidder. That evening, while I sat with Grandma in the quiet ICU room, my phone buzzed. Facebook notification. My mother had posted. The post showed an old photo of her and Grandma from 2019. A Christmas dinner, both of them smiling. The caption read, "Holding Mom's hand tonight. Treasuring these final sacred moments. Life is so fragile. Grateful for this time to say goodbye. Please keep our family in your prayers. Hashtag family first. Hashtag cherish every moment." I checked the timestamp. Posted at 7:42 p.m. My mother's last visit to the hospital, 1:15 p.m. More than 6 hours ago. She wasn't here. Hadn't been here all evening. But she'd posted a photo implying she was at Grandma's bedside, grieving, being the devoted daughter-in-law. The comments poured in. So sorry, Andrea. Praying for you. You're such a devoted daughter. Your mother-in-law is blessed. Sending love and strength. I screenshotted the post, timestamped it, added it to the folder. Evidence item number 6. The next morning, November 21st, 3 women from Grandma's Bible study group arrived. Helen, Margaret, and Susan, all in their 70s, carrying flowers and Bibles and Tupperware containers of homemade soup. Where are Philip and Andrea? Helen asked, setting a vase of daisies on the windowsill. They'll be here later, I lied. They'd texted saying they were taking a mental health day and wouldn't be coming at all. Margaret shook her head. That poor dear. And they're being so brave through all this. Andrea's Facebook post made me cry, Susan added. Such devotion. I bit my tongue. Didn't correct them. Let them believe the performance. They stayed for 2 hours, read scripture aloud, Psalm 23, Grandma's favorite. Prayed over her, held her hands and told her she was loved. These women had visited 4 times in 3 days. They'd known Grandma for 30 years through church. They loved her. Her own son had visited twice. As they were leaving, Helen pulled me aside in the hallway. Your grandmother always said you had her spine, Rebecca. Whatever comes next, don't let them break it. I didn't understand what she meant, not yet. That afternoon, Dr. Walsh came by for his rounds. He checked Grandma's vitals, reviewed her charts, made notes. Everything looked stable. Surprisingly stable, he muttered. Her body is fighting harder than we'd expect, he said, almost to himself. Is that good? He looked at me for a long moment. I've learned never to underestimate Catherine Brennan. Could she wake up? Rebecca. He sat down in the chair next to me. I've been your grandmother's doctor for 30 years. I was there when your father was born. I've seen her survive things that would have killed most people. He adjusted Grandma's pillow, leaned close to her ear, so close I almost couldn't hear, and whispered something. When he straightened, he looked directly at me. Sometimes the strongest thing a person can do is wait for the right moment. Your grandmother taught me that years ago. Then he left. I sat there replaying his words. Wait for the right moment. What moment? Her recovery? Her death? Or something else entirely? On day 3, my mother posted on Facebook, treasuring these final moments with Mom. She hadn't visited in 36 hours, but Grandma's church friends had visited 4 times. Strangers showed more love than her own son. I started to understand what Grandma had been seeing all along, who people really were when it mattered. November 21st, 10:47 p.m. I'd been sitting in that ICU room for 14 hours straight. The nurses had stopped asking if I needed anything. They just brought me water and crackers and let me be. My parents had called around 8, conference call, both of them on speaker. Any change? No. Okay, we'll see you tomorrow. Get some rest. They didn't ask how I was, didn't offer to come sit with me, just checked the box marked Daily Update and went back to whatever they were doing. Probably browsing real estate listings. The hospital at night has its own rhythm. Distant footsteps, the beep of monitors, quiet voices at the nurse's station, the ventilator's steady hiss. You start to hear patterns in it after a while. Almost like breathing. Almost like a heartbeat that's not your own. I pulled my chair closer to Grandma's bed, held her hand. Room temperature was always 68 degrees, too cold. The clock on the wall said 10:47 p.m. Her heart rate was steady at 64 beats per minute. Grandma, if you can hear me? My voice cracked. I'd been talking to her for 3 days, but it still felt impossible. I need you to fight. Dad signed that DNR, but I don't accept it. I won't let you go without a fight. Please, give me something. Anything. The monitors beeped. The ventilator hissed. Nothing. I rested my head on the bed rail, exhausted, and closed my eyes. I must have dozed off. When I woke, the clock said 11:32 p.m. There was pressure on my hand. Faint, but definite. I jerked upright, looking at our clasped hands. Had I imagined it? Then it happened again. Her fingers wrapped around mine, weak but intentional. A squeeze. I looked at the monitors. Heart rate spiked to 78 beats per minute. Oxygen saturation held at 94%. The ventilator rhythm hadn't changed, but her hand was definitely moving. "Grandma?" I whisper shouted. "Can you hear me? Squeeze again if you can hear me." Another squeeze. Stronger this time. Oh my God! I stood up, ready to hit the call button for the nurse. "I need to get—" Her grip tightened, hard, holding me back. "Don't." I froze. She didn't want me to call anyone. Why? The heart monitor settled back to 65 beats per minute. Like nothing had happened. Like she was playing dead again. Was she conscious? Was she faking? Slowly, so slowly I thought I was imagining it, Grandma's eyelids fluttered, opened, just barely. Slits, but I could see her irises, those sharp blue eyes I'd known my entire life. "You're awake!" I was crying now, leaning over the bed rail. "Grandma, I thought—" "Shh." Her voice was barely audible, a whisper rasp around the ventilator tube. "I need to get Dr. Walsh." "No." She gripped my hand harder, surprising strength in those thin fingers. "Listen." The clock read 11:47 p.m. She pulled me closer. I could feel the warmth of her breath against my ear. "Not much time. They can't know. Not yet." "What? Grandma, I don't—" "Listen to me, baby girl." Her whisper came in fragments. I had to piece them together, leaning so close my ear was practically pressed to her lips. "Lockbox. Under the porch. Left side near the steps." "What lockbox?" "Combination is your birthday. 031598. "Grandma, what is this?" "Purple folder. Everything you need. Take it to Samuel Brooks. Attorney. His number is in my address book in the kitchen drawer." "I don't understand. Did he sign it?" Her voice was urgent now, stronger. "Did Philip sign?" "Sign what?" "The DNR. Did Philip sign the DNR?" I felt my throat close. "Yes. I'm so sorry. I tried to stop him." She exhaled. Actually exhaled, like she'd been holding her breath for days. "Good. I needed to know." "Good? Why was that good?" Her hands started to relax. Her eyes began to close. "Wait." I grabbed her shoulders gently. "What does this mean? Why did you need him to sign it? Grandma, what's happening?" Right before her eyes closed completely, she pulled me close one more time. "Don't tell them I woke. Not yet. Wait for Thanksgiving." "Thanksgiving? That's a week away." "Trust me, baby girl." Her voice was fading. "Get the folder. Read everything. Then you'll see. I've been watching them. For a long time." "Watching who? My parents?" "I needed proof. Now I have it." Her eyes closed. Her breathing settled back into the rhythm of the ventilator. Heart rate, 63 beats per minute. Steady, like nothing had happened. I sat back, shaking. The clock read 11:51 p.m. Did that just happen? Was Grandma conscious and pretending? Why? What proof? What was in the purple folder? I looked at the door. I should tell someone. Call Dr. Walsh. Call the nurses. But Grandma had said not to. "Trust me." Those were the words Grandma always used when she had a plan. I stood up, looking down at Grandma, who appeared peacefully unconscious again. Made a choice. Every instinct said, tell Dr. Walsh, tell the nurses. But Grandma had specifically said not to. And Grandma didn't do things without reason. If she wanted them to think she was still in a coma, There was a reason. If she wanted me to get that folder before anyone knew she was awake, there was a reason. I pulled out my phone, opened notes, typed 11:47 p.m. G woke up. Lockbox under cabin porch. Combo 031598. Purple folder. Take to Samuel Brooks. Don't tell parents. Wait for Thanksgiving. She's faking? Footsteps in the hallway. I looked up. Julie appeared in the doorway. You okay, honey? Thought I heard voices. My heart hammered. How long had she been standing there? Did she hear? Julie walked into the room, checked the monitors. Routine. But her eyes lingered on my tear-stained face. Rough night? She asked. Yeah, just processing everything. She glanced at Grandma, then back at me. She's a fighter, your grandma. Tougher than she looks. You keep saying that. Because it's true. Julie paused, one hand on Grandma's IV line. Sometimes people surprise you. Just when you think you know how things will go, they flip the script. What do you mean? She smiled. Nothing, just rambling. Night shift does that to you. She headed for the door, then stopped. Oh, Rebecca, if your grandma ever needed you to do something important, I'd trust her judgment. She doesn't ask for help unless it matters. Then she left. I replayed the conversation. Did Julie know Grandma had woken up? Was Julie in on this? How deep did this go? The clock read 12:08 a.m. Technically, November 22nd now. I needed to get to that cabin, get that lockbox, but it was after midnight. Should I go now? Wait until morning? What if my parents got there first? I looked at Grandma one more time. Still peaceful, still unconscious, waiting for the right moment. Fine. I could wait too. I left the hospital at 5:30 a.m., telling the night nurse I was going home to shower. Drove 25 minutes through the pre-dawn darkness to 1847 Lakeshore Road. The cabin sat where it always had. Small, weathered wood siding painted sage green, tin roof gone rusty at the edges, surrounded by towering pines. The lake behind it was glass still in that strange blue-black light before sunrise. I'd spent every summer here as a kid. I knew every creaky board, every hiding spot, every place where the porch needed repair. But I'd never felt afraid of it before. I parked in the gravel driveway, grabbed the flashlight from my glove box. The temperature was 38 degrees. My breath fogged in the air. I walked up to the porch, knelt down. Left side, near the steps, she'd said. I shined the flashlight underneath. Cobwebs, dirt, old paint cans, a rusty toolbox, and there, pushed back against the foundation, a metal lockbox, about the size of a shoebox, dusty. With a combination lock on the front, I pulled it out, heavy, solid. I sat on the porch steps, lockbox in my lap, hands shaking. The lock had two 3-digit dials, 6 digits total. My birthday, March 15th, 1998, 031598. I rolled the numbers into place one by one. When the last dial clicked to 8, the lock popped open. Inside, a purple folder, bulging with papers. A small digital voice recorder, older model, the kind reporters used. An envelope labeled, "For Rebecca, read first," in Grandma's neat handwriting. A second envelope labeled, "Samuel Brooks, deliver sealed." I opened the first envelope with shaking hands. Inside was a letter, handwritten, 3 pages, dated November 6, 2025, 12 days before the stroke. The first line, "Dear Rebecca, if you're reading this, my test has begun. I need you to be strong for what comes next." I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my car in Grandma's driveway at 6 a.m., staring at the cabin, holding a flashlight, terrified of what I'd find. When I opened that lockbox and saw the purple folder, the recorder, the letters, I realized Grandma hadn't had a stroke. She'd launched an investigation, and I was about to become her star witness. I unfolded the letter, 3 pages of Grandma's neat cursive, and read by the dome light in my car. The sun was just starting to rise over the lake, painting everything gold and pink. My dearest Rebecca, if you're reading this, then my test has begun. I'm either lying in a hospital bed right now, or I've already passed. Either way, you need to know the truth. For the past 8 months, I've been watching your father. Not because I wanted to believe the worst of him, because I needed to know if my suspicions were true. It started in March when he came to visit. Rare, as you know. He asked about my will. Casual, he thought. Have you updated it recently, Mom? Who's the executor? Have you thought about simplifying your assets before you get too old to manage them properly? I said nothing, but I started paying attention. He came back in April, brought up assisted living, said the cabin was too much maintenance for someone my age, said the land was just sitting there unused when it could be providing income for my retirement. He had brochures, glossy ones, places that cost $6,000 a month. I smiled and thanked him and threw them away the moment he left. Then I hired a private investigator. I looked up from the letter. Grandma had hired a PI 8 months ago. I kept reading. The investigator's name is Thomas Wright, former FBI. Very thorough, very discreet. What he found broke my heart, Rebecca, but it also clarified everything. Your father's business is failing. Summit Development, LLC, is $340,000 in debt. Business loans, credit cards, a second mortgage on their house that Andrea may or may not know about. He's been hiding it well, paying minimums, juggling accounts. But he's drowning. In June, he started meeting with a developer named Daniel Ashford. Ashford wants my land, all 58 acres. He wants to build a luxury lakeside resort, condos, marina, restaurant. He's offering $2.9 million. Here's the problem. My land is zoned protected wetland. It cannot be commercially developed. Not legally. So Philip devised a plan. He was going to have me declared mentally incompetent, get power of attorney, then sell the land to Ashford in a good faith transaction before anyone could stop it. By the time the zoning violations were discovered, the money would be gone, and Philip would claim he was just a confused son trying to help his declining mother liquidate assets for her care. I have recordings of him discussing this. I have emails between him and Ashford. I have financial documents showing Ashford paid Philip an $85,000 consulting fee, really a bribe to make the deal happen. But I needed one more thing. I needed to know what Philip would do if I was actually dying. Would he fight for me? Would he pay to keep me alive? Or would he let me go to speed up his inheritance and solve his money problems? My hands were shaking so hard, I almost dropped the letter. So I staged a stroke. Dr. Henry Walsh is my physician and my friend. We've known each other for 30 years. I trust him completely. He helped me create a scenario where Philip would have to make a choice. I took sedatives under medical supervision. Dr. Walsh admitted me to the hospital with suspected massive stroke. We ran real tests, MRI, CT scan, but Henry interpreted them in a way that made my condition seem critical. He recommended emergency surgery costing $185,000, with only a 30% success rate. I knew what Philip would choose. I hoped, God, how I hoped, that I was wrong. But I wasn't. If you're reading this, he chose the DNR. He chose money over my life. Here's what you need to do, Rebecca. Do not tell anyone I'm awake. Not yet. Read everything in the purple folder. Listen to the recordings on the voice recorder. Take the sealed envelope to Samuel Brooks, my attorney. He's expecting it. His number is in my kitchen drawer. Wait for Thanksgiving. I've already sent invitations to 20 people. Philip and Andrea can't refuse without looking heartless. Trust me, baby girl. I have a plan. I'm so sorry to put this burden on you, but you're the only one I trust. You're the only one who has ever truly seen me for who I am. I love you more than words can say. Whatever happens, remember, you are my legacy, not the land, not the money, you. With all my heart, Grandma P.S. There are 2 wills in this folder. Read them both. One was for if Philip fought for me. One is for if he didn't. Samuel has copies. The world will see which version gets read at Thanksgiving. The letter was dated November 6th, 2025, 12 days before the stroke. This was planned. All of it. Cold, calculated, brilliant. I set the letter on the passenger seat and opened the purple folder with trembling hands. Sunlight was streaming through the windshield now. I spread the folder's contents across my lap and the passenger seat. Financial records. Printouts showing Summit Development, LLC's debts. $340,000 total. Credit cards maxed out. Business loan payments 60 days overdue. A second mortgage on my parents' house for $125,000 that I'd never heard about. Email printouts. 37 pages of exchanges between an email address, prdevelopment@gmail.com, and dashford@ashfordholdings.com. The first email was dated March 22nd, 2025. Daniel, following up on our conversation, the property is 58 acres, lakefront, pristine condition. Owner is elderly, showing signs of cognitive decline. I believe we can structure a favorable transaction in the next 6 to 12 months. Let's discuss terms. P. Bank records. A transfer dated April 30th, 2025, from Ashford Holdings LLC to Summit Development LLC. $85,000. Memo line. Consulting services. Land acquisition project. Consulting services. Right. Zoning documents. Official county records showing Grandma's property as Lot 1847, Lakeshore Road. Zoning. Protected Wetland Conservation District. Commercial development prohibited. Meeting surveillance logs. The PI's notes. 14 meetings between Philip and Daniel Ashford. March through October 2025. Coffee shops, restaurants, Ashford's office. Dates, times, locations. Recorded call transcripts. 8 phone conversations, professionally transcribed. The PI had recorded them with Grandma's permission, legal under North Carolina's single-party consent law. And at the bottom of the folder, 2 sealed envelopes, both notarized, both dated November 11th, 2025. One labeled, Last Will and Testament, version A, if he fought. One labeled, Last Will and Testament, version B, if he abandoned. I stared at them. 2 futures, 2 different outcomes. Philip had chosen which one would be opened, he just didn't know it yet. There was one more document in the folder. Thicker paper, official seal. I almost missed it. Deed of Conservation Easement. I scanned the first page. This second day of October, 2025, Catherine A. Brennan, grantor, does hereby grant and convey to the North Carolina Land Conservancy a perpetual conservation easement over the property known as 1847 Lakeshore Road, comprising 58 acres. October 2nd, 6 weeks before the stroke. I kept reading, heart pounding. Said property shall be preserved in perpetuity for conservation purposes, and shall not be commercially developed, subdivided, or sold for commercial use. Trustee shall be Rebecca Ann Robson. In the event of trustee's death or incapacity, trusteeship shall pass to the North Carolina Land Conservancy. Grantor's heirs shall have no authority to reverse or modify this easement. There was a handwritten note paperclipped to the document, Grandma's writing. I filed this 6 weeks ago. Philip's scheme was already dead. He just didn't know it. I wanted to see how far he'd go chasing something he'd already lost. Turns out, he'd go all the way to letting his mother die. Now we both know who he really is. I started laughing, then crying, then laughing again. My father had spent 8 months planning this, spent $85,000 in bribes, met with developers, plotted how to steal his mother's land, signed a DNR to let her die faster. For land he couldn't have, land that was already protected, forever. Grandma had checkmated him before he even made his first move. I picked up the digital recorder. There was a yellow sticky note on it in Grandma's handwriting. Listen to track 4 first. That's the one that matters most. I plugged in my earbuds, hit play. The timestamp appeared on the tiny screen. November 19th, 2025, 6:15 p.m., static. Then the sound of a hospital room door closing. My father's voice. Finally, I thought that nurse would never leave. My mother. Can she hear us? She's in a coma, Andrea. Brain dead, basically. The doctor said there's still brain activity. Minimal, meaningless. She's gone. We're just waiting for the body to catch up. A long pause. I could hear my mother's breathing. It feels wrong, talking like this with her right here. She's not here. That's just a body. Mom left 3 days ago. The person we knew is gone. Another pause. Longer. How long until probate? If she goes in the next 48 hours, we could start filing by Monday. Estate this size, maybe 6 to 8 months to settle. And the land? I already talked to Daniel. He's ready. The second we get executor clearance, we list it as an estate sale. $2.9 million. After legal fees and taxes, we're looking at about $2.6 million net, minus Rebecca's share. How much are we giving her? $130,000, the cabin and some cash. She's 27, she'll be fine. What if she contests the will? On what grounds? We're following Mom's will to the letter. Well, the version Mom signed back in 2019, before she started getting difficult about the land. You think she changed it? Doesn't matter. I have the 2019 version. That's the one we'll submit for probate. A very long pause. Do you think she knew what you were planning? Mom, no. She was sharp once, but this last year she'd been slipping. All that save the land talk, conservation nonsense, she was losing it. Still, she raised you. Yeah, and I'm grateful. But sentiment doesn't pay off $340,000 in debt, Andrea. Mom had a good life. 79 years. She wouldn't want us to struggle when she's sitting on $3 million in assets she can't even enjoy anymore. I guess you're right. Once the land sells, we buy the country club house, pay off all the debt, and finally live the way we should have been living all along. Mom would want that for us. The sound of a door opening. Nurse Julie's voice. Sorry to interrupt. Need to check vitals. My father. Of course. We were just leaving. The recording ended. I sat there in my car staring at the lake, tears streaming down my face. She's not here. That's just a body. Those were my father's words about his own mother. There were 7 more tracks. I listened to all of them. Track 1, March 15th, 2025. Philip and Andrea on the phone. Mom's being stubborn about the land. We need a workaround. What if something happened to her? A medical emergency? A DNR would be the humane choice at her age. Track 2, June 3rd, 2025. Philip meeting with Daniel Ashford at a coffee shop. The P I had planted a recorder. I need that land. She won't sell. But if she were incapacitated, I'd have power of attorney. How soon can you make that happen? Track 3, August 12th, 2025. Philip and Andrea at dinner. Grandma had hidden a recorder in her purse during a rare family meal. Your mother's so selfish hoarding that land. Not for much longer, I promise you that. Track 5, November 18th, 4:45 p.m. The hallway conversation I'd overheard about funeral homes and estate lawyers. Recorded. Track 6, November 20th, 2:30 p.m. Philip in Grandma's hospital room. Once she's gone, first thing is the land appraisal. I want it listed within a week of probate opening. What about Rebecca? She's emotional, not strategic. She'll take what we give her. Track 7, November 21st, 11 a.m. Philip on the phone with Daniel Ashford. Should be any day now. The DNR is signed. Nature will take its course. Track 8, November 21st, 3:15 p.m. Andrea on the phone with a friend, in the hospital cafeteria. The PI had followed her. I know it sounds awful, but honestly, it's a relief. She's been a burden for years. This is better for everyone. 8 recordings, 8 months, 8 times my parents discussed letting Grandma die for money. This wasn't a moment of weakness. This was a plan. I drove straight to downtown Asheville. Brooks and Associates law firm, a small brick building near Pack Square. I'd been there once before, years ago when Grandma updated her will. Samuel Brooks met me in the conference room, 61 years old, silver hair, wire-rimmed glasses, kind eyes. He'd been Grandma's attorney for 20 years. Rebecca. He stood, shook my hand. Catherine said you'd be coming. You knew? About the staged stroke? I helped her plan the legal aspects. Dr. Walsh handled the medical theater. He gestured for me to sit. Your grandmother is the smartest client I've ever had. She's insane. This whole thing is insane. Is it? He opened a file folder. Your father was planning to steal her land through fraudulent incompetency proceedings. She gathered evidence. She tested his character. She protected her assets. I'd call that brilliant, not insane. I handed him the sealed envelope marked with his name. He opened it, scanned the contents, nodded. Good. Everything's in order. The conservation easement is filed. The wills are executed. The recordings are legally obtained. We're ready. Ready for what? Thanksgiving. He smiled. Catherine has invited 20 people to dinner at the cabin on November 28th. Your parents can't refuse without looking heartless. Their mother just miraculously recovered from a coma. And at that dinner, Catherine will reveal everything. He showed me a timeline on his whiteboard. October 2nd, easement filed November 6th, letters written November 11th, wills finalized November 18th, test begins, stage stroke, November 28th, revelation, Thanksgiving dinner. What's in Will B? I asked. The one for if he abandoned her? Brooks smiled. You'll find out at Thanksgiving, but let's just say your grandmother has a gift for poetic justice. I sat in my car outside the law office for 20 minutes, engine off, just thinking. My phone rang. My mother. I answered, my voice steady. Hello? Rebecca, where are you? The hospital said you left hours ago. I'm at Grandma's cabin, getting some of her things. Personal items. Oh. Well, don't take anything valuable. We need to do a full inventory. There's nothing valuable here, Mom. Just memories. Okay, well, we're planning to visit Mom this afternoon. Will you be there? Yeah, I'll be there. Good. We need to discuss funeral arrangements. Dr. Walsh says it could be any time now. I smiled, watching the sunlight dance on the lake. You never know. Grandma's full of surprises. She's in a coma, honey. She can't. Right. See you this afternoon. I hung up. I knew something they didn't, and it felt like power. I sat in that car until the sun came up, listening to my father plot my grandmother's death for money. When I was done, I wasn't scared anymore. I wasn't sad. I was ready for war. Because Grandma had given me everything I needed: evidence, legal protection, and a front row seat to the most spectacular takedown I'd ever witness. All I had to do was wait for Thanksgiving. November 22nd through 24th. 3 days of playing along. I returned to the hospital that afternoon. My parents were already there, sitting in Grandma's room, looking appropriately somber. Where were you this morning? My father asked. Grandma's cabin. Just needed to feel close to her. Went through some old photo albums. Find anything we should know about? My mother's voice was casual, but her eyes were sharp. Just memories. Pictures of me and Grandma from when I was little. Well, we'll need to go through everything systematically soon. Make sure important documents are properly secured. Of course, Dad. Whatever you think is best. I watched him relax. He thought I was falling in line, being reasonable, the grief-stricken granddaughter who'd eventually accept reality and take her small inheritance without complaint. That night, I sat alone with Grandma after my parents left at 6 p.m. I leaned close, whispered, I found everything. I know the plan. I won't let you down. The heart monitor blipped. Just for a second. 64 to 68, then back to 64. A sign or coincidence? I chose to believe it was a sign. November 23rd. My mother insisted I come with her to Baker and Son's funeral home. We need to be prepared, honey. It's better to have everything arranged so we're not scrambling later. We sat in a consultation room with cream-colored walls and soft lighting designed to be soothing. The funeral director, a man in his 50s with practiced sympathy, walked us through options. Have you thought about service preferences? My mother answered immediately. Something small, dignified. We're thinking Cornerstone Baptist Church, where she attended for 30 years. Grandma loved the outdoors, I said. Maybe something at the cabin, by the lake? That's not practical, sweetheart. November weather is so unpredictable. The funeral director nodded. We could do a small graveside service, then a reception at the church fellowship hall. My father, who joined us halfway through, nodded. Perfect, simple and cost-effective. They selected a casket, $3,200 middle range, discussed flower arrangements, chose a burial plot next to Grandpa's grave. I signed nothing, just watched, took mental notes. As we left, my mother linked her arm through mine. I'm glad we're doing this together, as a family. I nodded, thought, you have no idea what family actually means. That evening my phone rang. Aunt Olivia, Grandma's sister, who lived in Tennessee. Rebecca, honey, I just got the strangest call from Kate's attorney. Samuel Brooks? What did he say? He said Kate had planned a Thanksgiving gathering at the cabin before her stroke. He's still organizing it, honoring her wishes. Asked if Joe and I could come. Said it was important, but Kate's in a coma. How could she have planned? Just trust her, Aunt Olivia. Come to Thanksgiving. Bring Uncle Joe. It's important. You know something. I know Grandma always has a plan. Over the next 2 days, I learned that 20 people had been invited. Aunt Olivia and Uncle Joe, Philip's brother Ethan, plus his wife and 2 kids, the 3 church ladies, Helen, Margaret, and Susan, 2 of Grandma's longtime neighbors, Dr. Walsh and his wife, Nurse Julie, Samuel Brooks, and my parents. 20 witnesses. On November 25th, my father called. Rebecca, who authorized this Thanksgiving gathering? Mom's in a coma. This is completely inappropriate. Grandma planned it before the stroke. We should honor her wishes, don't you think? It's in poor taste given the circumstances. Then don't come. Long pause. I could hear him thinking. If he refused to attend his dying mother's pre-planned Thanksgiving dinner, what would people think? Fine, we'll be there. But this is highly irregular. I'm sure she'd appreciate you making the effort. November 25th, 9 a.m. Dr. Walsh called. Rebecca, you should come to the hospital. There's been a development. I drove faster than I should have. Arrived to find Dr. Walsh in Grandma's room, reviewing her charts. Her vitals have improved significantly overnight. Brain activity has increased. I'm cautiously optimistic. She's waking up? Possibly. It's extremely rare, but the human body can be remarkable. Right on cue, my parents rushed in. What's going on? Dr. Walsh turned to them. Your mother is showing signs of recovery. I'm upgrading her status from critical to stable. But the DNR, my mother stopped herself. The DNR is still in place, Dr. Walsh said evenly. But she's not coding, she's improving. If this continues, I may be able to extubate her by tomorrow. Grandma's eyes fluttered open. For real this time, in front of everyone. She looked at my father, then my mother, then me. For me, the smallest smile. My father's face went pale. I don't understand. I said there was a 30% chance of recovery. Your mother is beating the odds. After they left, I leaned close to Grandma. She whispered, How'd I do? Academy Award worthy. November 26th. Dr. Walsh discharged Grandma with instructions for home health care. My father tried to object. Mom, you need professional care, at least a short-term rehab facility. Grandma's voice was weak but firm. My home, or I refuse treatment entirely. Dr. Walsh backed her up. Mrs. Brennan is competent to make her own medical decisions. Home health can manage her recovery. In the car on the way to the cabin, Grandma squeezed my hand. Tomorrow. Everything comes together tomorrow. I'm ready. November 27th. I spent the entire day at the cabin with Grandma. Helen, Margaret, and Susan came early to help cook. Kate, are you sure you're up for hosting? Helen asked, basting the turkey. You just got out of the hospital. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. By evening, everything was prepared. 20 chairs arranged in the main room. Food ready. Samuel Brooks arrived with a small PA system. So everyone can hear clearly, he said. That night, my father called one last time. I'm thinking of canceling. Mom's not strong enough for this. Everyone's already coming, Dad. It would look terrible if you didn't show. Fine, but if anything happens to her, it's on you. After he hung up, Grandma and I sat on the porch, watching the stars. You ready for this? I asked. I've been ready for 8 months. November 27th, the day before Thanksgiving, my father asked me to say a few words at Grandma's funeral. I smiled and said I'd already prepared something. He had no idea what was coming. None of them did. Grandma had spent 8 months gathering evidence. Now she'd spend 30 minutes delivering justice. November 26th, 3 p.m. I pulled into the gravel driveway of 1847 Lakeshore Road with Grandma in the passenger seat. Dr. Walsh followed in his car, making a house call to set up the home health equipment. Grandma stared at the cabin for a long moment before speaking. I wasn't sure I'd see it again. You planned the whole thing. You were never in real danger. Even fake near-death experiences make you grateful for home. I helped her inside. Everything was exactly as she'd left it 2 weeks ago. Her reading chair by the window overlooking the lake, crossword puzzles on the side table, photos covering the mantel, me in every stage of childhood, gap-toothed first grade, high school graduation, teaching certificate ceremony. Philip appeared in exactly 3 photos. College graduation, his wedding, one stiff family Christmas. Grandma walked slowly to the mantel, picked up Philip's college graduation photo, stared at it. I raised him better than this, she said it face down. At 5 p.m., Helen, Margaret, and Susan arrived with their arms full. Casseroles, pies, enough food for an army. Catherine Brennan! Helen set down her dishes and pulled Grandma into a gentle hug. You scared us half to death. Only half? I must be losing my touch. Margaret was crying. The whole church has been praying for you, every single service. Well, clearly it worked. Here I am. Susan squeezed Grandma's hands. Philip said you were... We thought we'd lost you. Philip says a lot of things. Not all of them are true. The 3 women exchanged glances. They didn't know details, but they knew. They'd seen my parents' hospital visits, or lack thereof. They'd seen who actually showed up. As they were leaving, Helen pulled me aside in the driveway. Rebecca, whatever your grandmother is planning for tomorrow, and don't tell me she's not planning something. I've known Kate for 30 years. We'll support her. She's tougher than all of us combined. November 27th, 10 a.m. Samuel Brooks arrived with his briefcase and a serious expression. We sat at Grandma's kitchen table, the same table where I'd eaten countless breakfasts, done homework, played cards on rainy afternoons. Catherine, I need to confirm one last time. You want to proceed with the full revelation tomorrow? Every word. It will destroy your relationship with Philip, possibly permanently. Grandma's voice was steady. We don't have a relationship, Samuel. We have a transaction. He's been waiting for me to die so he can cash in. Tomorrow he'll learn there's nothing to cash. And Andrea? She enabled him every step of the way. She's equally responsible. Brooks turned to me. Rebecca, what's your role? I sit there and witness. Grandma wants me to see who they really are in public, so I never doubt my decision. Brooks nodded, pulling out papers. The guest list is confirmed. 20 people. I've set up the PA system so Catherine won't have to strain her voice. After her speech, I'll read Will Be aloud. Any last-minute changes? He asked Grandma. She shook her head. I've been rehearsing this for 8 months. Let's give them a show. November 28th. I arrived at the cabin at 8 a.m. Grandma was already awake, dressed in her best navy dress, the pearl necklace Grandpa had given her for their 50th anniversary, low heels, hair done, makeup subtle but present. She looked like herself, strong, elegant, immovable. You read everything in the folder? She asked, pouring coffee. Every word. Listened to every recording. And? I'm angry, I'm heartbroken, but mostly, I'm proud of you. She set down her coffee cup. Rebecca, this won't be easy. Watching your father's face when he realizes what he's lost. He deserves it. Yes, but he's still your father. He stopped being my father when he signed that DNR. Grandma pulled me into a hug, pulled me. Whatever happens today, remember this. You're my legacy. Not the land, not the money, you, the woman you've become. That's what matters. We spent the morning setting out food the church ladies had brought. Turkey, stuffing, sweet potatoes, green beans, 3 different pies. The cabin smelled like Thanksgiving was supposed to smell. Warm, rich, full of comfort. But underneath it all was the sharp scent of reckoning. At 1:30 p.m., cars started arriving. The night before Thanksgiving, I asked Grandma if she was nervous. She smiled and said, I've been waiting 8 months for this. I've never been more ready. As I lay in bed in the cabin's guest room, I could hear her moving around downstairs, humming softly. She was preparing for battle. And tomorrow, my parents would learn what happens when you underestimate a woman who's had 79 years to perfect the art of justice. Aunt Olivia and Uncle Joe arrived first, at 1:35 p.m. Tears, hugs, relief. Kate, my God, we thought... I know, I'm tougher than I look. Then the neighbors, the church ladies, Philip's brother Ethan with his wife and 2 teenage kids, Dr. Walsh and his wife, Nurse Julie, Samuel Brooks, setting up discreetly in the corner with his briefcase. My parents arrived last, at 1:58 p.m., deliberately late, making an entrance. My father wore a suit, too formal for family Thanksgiving. My mother had on pearls and the fixed smile she used at charity functions. They scanned the room, taking in the crowd, the informal setup, clearly annoyed this wasn't the somber gathering they'd imagined. Grandma greeted everyone warmly. When my father tried to kiss her cheek, she offered her hand instead. Formal, distant. He noticed. Mom, this is too much. You just got out of the hospital 2 days ago. I'm fine, Philip. Better than I've been in years, actually, my mother chimed in. We were thinking maybe just immediate family would have been more appropriate. These people are my family. Grandma gestured to the room. Now sit. We'll eat soon. But first, I have an announcement. At exactly 2 p.m., Grandma stood, tapped a spoon against her water glass. The room went silent. Grandma stood at the front of the room, me on her right, Samuel Brooks on her left, 20 people watching. Her voice, amplified by the small PA system, was clear and strong. Thank you all for coming. I know this is unusual, Thanksgiving dinner as a command performance, but I promise it's worth your time. Most of you know I had a stroke 10 days ago, or that's what you were told. The truth is more complicated. The truth is, I staged it. The room erupted. Gasps. Confused murmurs. Philip stood up. Mom, what are you talking about? Sit down, Philip. You'll want to hear this. My father sat. His face was red. My mother gripped his arm. Grandma continued, her voice calm, factual. I staged the stroke because I needed to know something. I needed to know if my only son would fight for my life, or if he'd let me die to inherit faster. For 8 months, I've been watching, listening, documenting. I hired a private investigator. I consulted with Dr. Walsh here. She gestured to him. I worked with my attorney, Samuel Brooks. Together, we created a test. The test was simple. If I were truly dying, if I truly needed expensive surgery to survive, would Philip pay for it? Or would he sign a DNR and let me go? I already knew the answer, but I needed proof. She paused, letting that sink in. So on November 18th, Dr. Walsh and I staged a medical crisis. Real hospital admission, real coma, medically induced sedation under supervision, real surgery recommendation costing $185,000, and a real choice for Philip: save me or save money. He chose money. He signed the DNR at 4:32 p.m. on November 18th without hesitation, while I lay in that hospital bed able to hear every word he said. She held up the DNR form. Philip's signature clearly visible. The room was dead silent. My father stood again. "This is insane. You were dying." The doctor said. Dr. Walsh stood. I said what Catherine asked me to say. The stroke was staged with her full consent. She was never in real danger. "You're admitting to medical fraud." Samuel Brooks stood. "Medical theater, not fraud. All tests were performed. Mrs. Brennan was sedated with her informed consent. No insurance claims were filed. No laws were broken." Philip looked around the room, realizing everyone was staring at him. "I made a difficult end-of-life decision. That's not a crime." Grandma's voice cut through. "Sit down, Philip. We're not done." Now, some of you might think Philip made a hard choice. End-of-life decisions are complicated. You're right. They are. But this wasn't about dignity or mercy. This was about money. I know because I recorded you, Philip, for 8 months. Every conversation where you discussed my land, my assets, your plans for when I died, I'm going to play 3 of them now. I connected the voice recorder to the PA system. Grandma nodded. I pressed play on track 4. My father's voice filled the room. November 19th, 6:15 p.m., in the hospital room he thought was private. "She's not here. That's just a body. Mom left 3 days ago." "How long until probate?" "If she goes in the next 48 hours, we could start filing by Monday." "And the land?" $2.9 million. Split after fees, we're looking at $2.6 million net. How much are we giving Rebecca? $130,000. She's 27. She'll be fine. Aunt Olivia had tears streaming down her face. The church ladies looked horrified. Ethan, Philip's own brother, shook his head in disgust. "That was November 19th, Grandma said. Here's June 3rd. Track 2. Philip meeting with Daniel Ashford. She won't sell the land, but if she were incapacitated, I'd have power of attorney. How soon can you make that happen?" And here's March 15th. Track 1. Philip and Andrea discussing DNR as a humane choice months before any stroke. My mother was sobbing. My father stood frozen, face white. Grandma held up another document. You might be wondering, what was Philip after? What was worth letting his mother die? This land. 58 acres, appraised at $2.8 million. Philip made a deal with a developer named Daniel Ashford. Sell the land, build luxury condos, split the profit. It would have solved all his money problems. He's $340,000 in debt, by the way. There's just one problem. She paused for effect. He can't have it. On October 2nd, 6 weeks before my so-called stroke, I transferred this land into a perpetual conservation easement. It can never be commercially developed. Not by me, not by Philip, not by anyone. Ever. The trustee is Rebecca. Philip's scheme was dead before it started. He just didn't know it. She held up the conservation easement, dated and notarized. My father found his voice. You had no right. I had every right. It's my land, and now it's protected forever from people like you. Grandma turned to Samuel Brooks. Read the will. Samuel Brooks stood, opened the envelope labeled Will Be, if he abandoned. His voice was formal, clear. I, Catherine Ann Brennan, being of sound mind and body, do hereby declare this my last will and testament, executed November 11th, 2025. To my granddaughter, Rebecca Robson, all real property, including 58 acres at 1847 Lakeshore Road and cabin, total value $2.98 million. All savings and investment accounts, $387,000. All personal property, jewelry, and belongings. Role as trustee of Brennan Family Conservation Trust. To my son, Philip Robson, the sum of $1, with the following note. Brooks pulled out a handwritten card. Read it aloud. You valued my land over my life. You chose money over your mother. You will receive neither. This dollar represents the value you placed on our relationship. Spend it wisely. Gasps around the room. Brooks continued. To my daughter-in-law, Andrea Robson, nothing. You enabled my son's greed and counted my assets before I was dead. To Cornerstone Baptist Church, $50,000 for the Women's Shelter Ministry. Additionally, I established the Brennan Family Integrity Scholarship, $25,000 annually, for students who have overcome family hardship and demonstrated moral courage. He set down the document. Total silence. Philip stood, shaking. This is undue influence, fraud. I'll contest. Brooks cut him off. On what grounds? Your mother is of sound mind, as evidenced by this entire plan. Multiple witnesses. The will was executed before any alleged medical crisis. You have no case. She manipulated the situation. She tested you, and you failed. Ethan stood. That's enough, Philip. You brought this on yourself. Philip looked around the room. 20 pairs of eyes staring at him with disgust, pity, or both. You're all going to stand here and let her do this? Dr. Walsh. We're going to stand here and watch justice happen. Helen. We loved you like family, Philip, but what you did, there's no excuse for that. My father grabbed my mother's hand. We're leaving. She followed, mascara running, sobbing. They reached the door. My father's hand on the knob. Grandma spoke one last time. Philip, he stopped. Didn't turn around. I hope the $340,000 debt was worth it. I hope the house on Country Club Drive you'll never afford was worth it. Because you just lost $3 million, your mother, and your reputation. All because you couldn't wait for an old woman to die naturally. My father opened the door, left. My mother looked back once. I'm sorry, she whispered, then followed him out. The door closed. 3 seconds of silence. Then the room erupted in applause. Grandma sat down heavily, suddenly exhausted. I hugged her. Aunt Olivia was next, then the church ladies, then everyone else. Julie leaned in. That was the most badass thing I've ever witnessed. Language, Julie. Worth it. Someone opened sparkling cider. Grandma didn't drink alcohol. Glasses were raised. Olivia stood. To Catherine, the smartest, toughest, most brilliant woman I know. To Catherine, Grandma pulled me close, whispered in my ear. Thank you for trusting me, for standing with me when it mattered. Always, Grandma, always. We ate, we laughed, we cried, we celebrated. And for the first time in my life, I understood what family really meant. Not blood, but loyalty. Not obligation, but love. My father and mother left without a word. The door closed behind them, and the room erupted in applause. Grandma raised her glass of sparkling cider and said, Now that's what I call Thanksgiving. We ate turkey, laughed, cried, and celebrated justice. And my grandmother, 79 years old, survivor of a fake stroke and a very real betrayal, was the strongest person in the room. 2 weeks later, on December 12th, life had settled into a new rhythm. Grandma stayed at the cabin, her health fully recovered, almost like the stroke had never happened. Because of course it hadn't. Philip and Andrea moved out of Asheville. I heard through Aunt Olivia that they'd relocated 2 hours away, renting a small apartment. Philip's business filed for bankruptcy. The developer, Daniel Ashford, sued him for return of the $85,000 consulting fee when the land deal fell through. They were facing financial ruin. They hadn't contacted Grandma. They hadn't contacted me. I was okay with that. I visited the cabin every weekend now, learning land management from Grandma, understanding what it meant to be a trustee of something bigger than myself. The 58 acres would never be developed, but they'd be protected, cherished, used for environmental education programs Grandma was already planning. Last Sunday, the church announced the first Brennan Family Integrity Scholarship recipient, a 17-year-old girl named Emma, whose parents had abandoned her when she reported their abuse to authorities. $25,000 for her college education. Grandma cried when she met her. People ask me if I'm angry at my parents. The truth? I'm not angry. I'm sad for them. They had a mother who loved them, land worth millions, family who cared. They threw it all away chasing money they never got. Grandma taught me something important. The best revenge isn't anger or bitterness. It's living well, protecting what matters, and making sure the people who tried to destroy you never get the chance again. She also taught me that sometimes the people who seem powerless, elderly women, young teachers, third graders learning to read, are the ones who change everything. Last weekend, Grandma and I sat on the cabin porch watching the sunset paint the lake gold and pink. She held my hand. You know, Rebecca, I almost didn't do it. I almost let them get away with it just to keep the peace. What changed your mind? She smiled. You. I wanted you to see that good people don't have to stay silent. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is tell the truth, even when it destroys everything. The land will never be developed. The scholarship will help kids for generations. And my grandmother won't be remembered as a victim, but as a warrior who refused to let greed win. That's the legacy that matters. Grandma's 79 years old. She staged a stroke, exposed a conspiracy, and redistributed $3 million in assets, all to teach her son a lesson about love versus greed. I hope I'm half that strong when I'm her age. Actually, I hope I'm that strong right now. If you've stayed with this story all the way to the end, if it made you think about your own family, your own values, what you'd do if you were tested the way my grandmother tested my father, then share this. Comment below about a time someone you trusted showed you who they really were. And if this story connected with you, genuinely connected, hit subscribe. Not because I'm asking you to, but because stories about justice, family, and standing up for what's right matter. Sometimes the quietest people carry the loudest truths. Sometimes the oldest have the most fight left in them. And sometimes the best thing you can do is exactly what...
I have to do these deliveries, but I want to play some SnowRunner, and I want to play some Farm Sim, and I want to play some DBD. We got to play some DBD, and I'm loving Ark Raiders so much. I had to pick. What do you mean you had to pick? I told everyone to make way. It's alright, don't worry about it. I'm only missing. When I say shit on stream, Moonwolf, I am always here just to entertain everybody. Laugh at me or laugh with me, I don't care, so long as everybody's laughing. I'll forgive you, just don't do it again. Oops. It looks like an accident in front of me. What am I looking at? Yeah, sure. We'll see about that. Is this music good? Is everyone feeling the vibe of this music? Or should I change it? It's not exactly what I was hoping it would be, but, you know... It's alright, I like it. It's not exactly what I was looking for. I kind of want to... Actually, I've got an idea. I know what to do. We're going to change it. I'm going to search for something. I have an idea. I was missing one word.